Hello and welcome to The Dive presented by Honda. This is season 5, episode number 4. And this week we are doing a live fantasy draft with some very special guests ahead of our official start to the LCS season. Our guests, rapid fire down the line, we got Yasso from 100 Thieves, Latigris from the LCS, Emily Rand from the LCS, LS Freak, Kobe, I wasn't supposed to say myself, but Crumbs and Dash are also here.
Great start.
We just decided on the fact that we are going to take out Azale and Mark from the intro, so everybody else.
Kobe left himself in intentionally. Deleted us. But you know what? Mark and I are here too.
Afterthoughts, that's all we are.
All right, here's how it works. For this fantasy league, we're taking standard points provided by Sleeper. Kills are the highest value at 3 points, with assists at 2, and deaths subtracting 1 point from player's total score. Every 100 CS a player gets grants you a point, and bonuses are granted for first blood, solo kills, and being ahead at 15 minutes. Now, the only change we've made to those settings is shifting solo kills to 2 bonus points. If a player's team earns first Drake or first turret, that is 2 points to their score, and if a team gets Soul Drake or Baron, that's 3 points, with Elder earning an extra 4 points. In Sleeper's Fantasy League, there's a pick ban system as well. For every person on your roster, you can pick a champion. If your laner chooses that champion in any of their games that week, the points they earn receive a bonus. For your opponent's roster, you can ban a champion. If your opponent's player selects that champion, the amount of points they can earn is diminished. For our league, we've set these bonuses to a 1.5 times multiplier for successful picks and a 0.5 times multiplier for successful bans. If the pick and ban are the same for a given player, the multipliers cancel each other out.
All right, now on to the draft. Let's start it. Freak is first pick. Let's see what he goes with.
Well, I'm going to go for the best option, obviously, as I am the best drafter here. So,
that's doubtful.
Yeah, just you believe me. All right, here we go. We're gonna make you wait a little bit. The timer's ticking down, and
Freak's sweating.
Minute on the clock.
we're in there. Bam.
All right, I'm going to go with Team Liquid as well, Freak. Giant choice here. Freak chooses Alfari for the top lane. Wise choice, lots of solo kills probably in his future. Good CS as well.
Yep.
Lane stats do mean a lot.
Yep, and top lane's shallow. So
Yeah, and I follow it immediately with Jensen. So 2 Team Liquid members already off the table. Mark, what you got?
I'm following Freak into top lane. I'm taking Someday.
Ooh.
good. Yeah, please keep taking top laners that have already gotten one. I think that's ideal.
LS is following it with a Sven pickup here. AD carry starting to come through. What is Emily going for?
First drafter with a brain, taking a bot laner.
Perks for Emily. The mid lane is also dwindling.
See, mid is one of those things I wasn't sure about. So I was like, I think ADCs are going to score well regardless.
They are. Well, not the bad ones, maybe, because a lot of it's team-based.
Yeah,
Team game.
That's true.
All right, well, Isaac and James pick tactical for Isaac, FBI for James as well, trying to grab up the 80 carries while they can. I don't think I actually need to announce multiple picks in a row. I think that when it gets to the next person's turn, that they could say it as well. The Tiger's picking up Blabber here.
Yay.
Ooh, the first jungle pick.
No.
I
get 2.
Ooh, Santorin pickup. That's big.
That's what I wanted.
Oh.
All right, Crumbs, what you got?
Can I surrender already?
Yeah, his whole draft just fell apart.
Everyone he wanted is already gone.
Why are you eating already, Tom?
It's actually.
You get 2 in a row.
You know that,
2
right?
picks in a row.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the best.
I'd rather be last.
All right. I'll grab closer here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Freak's got to rely on Alfari to.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to get any player anymore now.
Man, the jungle pinch coming in hot right at the end. Blabber,
Seriously?
Santorin, Closer.
Yeah. The strat is not just what role makes the most
Crumbs.
points. It's it's the difference.
There we go.
Okay.
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 Definitely.
That's a
picked up.
choice.
All right.
Look at the rest of the ADs and tell me if you had a better choice than that.
That's exactly
Of course
right.
I did.
No, that.
But I'm going to wait to see it, to show it, you know?
Court. Damn it. I was hoping you would get
The
back
first
to me.
support
I was like,
off the board.
I can't believe Crumbs didn't pick Core JJ with 10th, 11th.
There's no points.
You're trolling.
He's
You get 2 points for every assist, you troll.
Well, I should have read the rules.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Kobe said them at the start of this, or Azale did. Blocked him
Great.
out.
This is good. Vulcan.
I'm back. What I missed?
Nothing.
Support.
You missed the support starting to move.
Okay. James,
right,
picking
James.
next.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm deciding between
Don't try too hard.
a top laner, maybe mid laner. Maybe we just
You should
grab
take a top
people.
laner for sure. The pool's running out fast.
There's approximately one
Nah,
good
dude,
top
who
left.
needs always up?
Well, that's the thing. Is like do you just go for impact for somebody who's just like
I would
pretty,
pick a coach.
pretty
Here. It's a
solid?
coaching.
Or do I just
grab
grab?
Jazz.
Yeah, we're.
Grab
Have you thought of Finn?
PoE.
We haven't seen Finn yet play. He could be a star.
That's true.
That's a good point. That's the Hail Mary.
Think
at
of the
end.
upside.
You got 8
you
seconds,
know?
Dash.
I know.
You got to make a choice, Dash. You got to make a choice, Dash.
Let's go with that guy.
Okay. So wow.
The meme
Okay.
picks. So there was a practice draft we were doing that was supposed to be a real draft until James had to go auto picked, and he got auto picked PoE, and his initial reaction was, "I don't want this guy."
Didn't want him first pick.
Oh my god. Wow.
Watch, he's gonna
Isaac's-
carry my team now.
Isaac's kind of
He's gonna
dwindling down
solo
here.
carry my team week 1.
What you going with, Isaac? Pairing for tactical. Isaac, did you DC?
No, I'm here.
No,
I'm
his
just-
brain's
Alright.
just chugging along at 10 in the morning.
He's
There we
really
go.
cranking on it. Okay.
I was
Isaac-
debating. I was
Isaac
debating.
picked up Impact. Emily immediately follows with Svenskara, and LS has Sven currently.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, LS
this
just
is-
narrowly
yeah.
missed out on the Sven combo.
Yeah, I actually,
Oh.
yeah, I did. That was actually my. my
That would have
go-to
been
there.
good for you, you know? Your
Yeah.
team would have been looking nice.
I think so. Yeah. Oh man.
It's a Jose Dioto angle. Think of all the Twitter interaction you'll get if you win with Jose Dioto.
This is true. This is true. I gotta go for the clout.
Yeah.
Oh man.
10 seconds
Oh
left.
jeez.
Oh,
Ooh,
slap in
nine-man
Jose's
sleep. Nine-man
face.
sleep is a good
Wow.
angle too.
LS goes for Spica instead of Jose. Jungle position called out.
Where is Demonte? Am I blind?
He's a mid laner, Mark.
I had to
I
type
have
in his
selected
name. I
mid.
couldn't find it.
He's at the bottom, number
You can
39.
search,
He's
like,
ranked-
find
he's
player.
ranked. He's
It's
ranked.
not. It
He's
doesn't
ranked.
show up by mid.
He, rank 39. Hit all.
Yeah,
go
it
to rank
does, it does.
39.
He
for
doesn't
me.
make the mid list.
Oh no!
It's there for me. I
There's
literally
a
see it,
find
Mark. You're
player
blind.
function. Just
Demonte
type
is
in
so
Demonte.
underrated that he doesn't even make the mid list
Yeah,
on
there's
here.
also
He's
a
Oh
search
my
the
God.
11th mid.
He's also
There is a
on the
search
list for me.
function.
He wasn't on the list for me. I
Oh
had
look, he got him. Oh look.
It's-
Oh look,
Hey.
Mark, you figured it out.
Oh.
Oh, Kobe going with the Jose Diogo.
Okay.
The
Um,
jungle-
I need to chime in that y'all are trolling a lot with some of the picks you guys have still left up. So
Like,
I just I wish I could pick twice in a row like Crumbs got to, because I would just slay all of you with the
Freak.
fact that I could
I mean,
pick
you
two
do
in a row.
now.
You.
Just
Like,
pick.
you do.
Literally
No, I
now.
don't. No, I
No.
don't. It goes
No, he
back to
doesn't.
Crumbs.
It goes
Learn
back
to
to
read.
Crumbs.
It goes back to
Really?
Crumbs. I got
Oh.
screwed by getting first pick.
Oh shit!
Oh wait, I didn't realize that when I thought I was gonna get
Yeah,
to.
yeah, Mark,
yeah.
you can't read. You can't find Demonte's name. You can't
Well,
see the
this
number
also
9.
isn't technically a snake draft but
Yeah.
Well, it's two snakes. All right, there's a snake and there's another snake that goes the rest of the way through.
dude, there's like 4 snakes going on here.
No, there's actually only 2 snakes because now it goes back and forth.
There's
Oh,
2
shit.
snakes with a
Oh.
random thing in the middle. Yeah.
This
All right.
Like I said, there's 2 snakes.
Oh.
That's just all it is.
Well, all the snakes have ended at Crumbs once again.
All of us.
What you got, Crumbs?
Last pick is broken.
Yeah.
Dude, these picks suck.
Yeah, seriously, 10
Crumbs was
is the
struggling with
best
his first pick.
Yeah.
Crumbs is
Yeah.
screwed later on.
So easy.
Dude, Palafox, Soligo, Insanity, Pobelter, Blaze Olive. Really? That's so
Okay.
easy?
And y'all
That's-
flaming me for my
Okay.
Power of Evil
And
pick now,
Jizuka,
huh?
right?
Y'all flaming me for my early
Nice.
Power of Evil pick.
Actually, you
Okay,
blamed
Demonte.
yourself, Dash, by saying, "Oh, I don't want Power of Evil."
Yeah,
I
it
just
was
didn't
the
want
one
him
that
first
you
round.
slandered
That's
to
all. I
me.
just didn't want him first round because I was with you, Azale. ADCs is definitely the way to go first.
It is, yeah.
It's
So you
it's
took
about
Jizuka.
it's
makes it
about what
easier
you
for
think
me.
is the least stacked role, though.
Are you going Pobelter or what?
It's the differential. Differential
Ah,
matters.
I'm thinking Insanity, Palafox, or Pobelter. Honestly, a Blaze Olive can make the cut too, but I don't think GGS is getting past like 8th, so I'm not taking him.
Very wise words.
I believe in Insanity. He's gonna go crazy this split.
All right, I believe.
Oh, all right, all right.
It's weird y'all think
Thinking
sniping mids is
face.
gonna do anything. You know, I'm already happy with this.
You don't think mids are important, Freak?
No, I'm just saying that you guys think you're pinching mids, but like I'm just taking, Golden Guardians of the Moon here, right? Like
Fudge.
it's
fudge
just gonna be
pickup.
easy.
Wow.
Okay.
That
Literally
is
drafting Cloud9 over there. Like, I don't know.
oh, that's so true.
Is that not just a good team though?
Yeah,
Dude,
it
they
is.
made the finals.
They're all right.
So we haven't seen like Xerxes play yet.
They're no
or
Team Liquid.
Finn, as was mentioned.
It was all of TL already gone.
Yeah, it was kind of a.
I mean, that was my
would-
strat.
I would not
Yeah, I
pick
got to
people
pick
with
one.
Venus Dash. I
Wow,
would
what
not pick
a
people with Venus
revolutionary
without
strategy,
him.
Freak. You tried to
Yeah.
pick the team that just
Oh,
won
I have
lock-in.
no,
Oof.
I have
Yeah,
no
and I got
intention
to
of
pick
taking
once.
a CLG player, Crumbs. I would consider Xerxes though, because at this point the jungle pool is quite small. Or Dardoch maybe, just hoping that he gets a bunch of kills while losing all the games.
Well, you got 10 seconds left.
I know.
You should just pick PoE again.
Actually,
Just go for the TSM strat.
I'd like to point out that everyone was trolling
Yes.
Sword Art.
So it was
TSM
between him and
paying that
Hui
much
for me,
money.
by the way. That's why I was stalling. I didn't know if I wanted Sword Art or
I
Hui.
cannot believe Sword Art made it this far in the draft.
I like
Y'all are
Emily's pick more.
trolling.
Emily going Ignar is better. I think she got a better pick than you
Nah.
right after in the same position.
People, Fudge got picked before Sword Art and Ignar.
Uh-huh.
Let's just put that out.
Oh, yo, I mean,
So did
at some point, you
Insanity.
just gotta look at
You
the
guys
team.
suck.
Why did you
Team
give
is
him
a
on
good
first
point.
pick, Azale?
What?
I couldn't snipe third round in time.
Yeah.
Like that's when the real big brain picks come in, is third round.
Only one more pick. My pick has stayed open this entire snake all the way back.
I
As
think
long
I'm
as
taking
Mark
it right
doesn't
now,
steal.
Kobe.
I don't think you are.
I think I'm
No.
taking it right now.
Yeah, Kobe's
All right,
getting
Mark, who
Joey.
you
He's
taking?
still open.
Let's see you, Mark.
Oh,
Ball
you're not
turtle.
taking it. You're not
Okay.
taking it.
Go.
Oh, it
Okay,
was.
good.
I knew it was an 80 carry because it was the only position that you wanted up. I think Turtle and the CLG players are getting a little underrated. I think that they looked bad at lock-in because they weren't playing with their main roster. I think they're
Okay,
gonna be
so
a
I get
little
two picks in
better.
a row. So I get to figure out like which roles I'm actually considering pinched and which ones I'm not. And then I get the last pick of the draft. Like I just get the dregs afterwards.
You get Mr. Irrelevant.
So yeah, I get to hope that these two picks carry me. So I'm gonna buy as much time as possible because I really want to make sure I'm not gonna lose out.
Someone fill Freak's head with chatter. Say random names. Neo,
Yeah, we'll just say-
Keith.
Okay, here we go.
So bad. That's
Yeah. Okay. So I got 20 seconds. We're okay.
You get two.
All right.
Joey,
so,
Joey.
Yeah.
Bench
all right.
play.
So
Pick
we're rounding up
NXT.
to TSM. I'm gonna believe in Lost a bit here. And
Lost
then
Lost is
we're-
pretty value there.
Yeah, that's
I think
a
it's
solid
decent
value.
value.
Yeah.
And then if I wasn't literally last pick, I would wait on this one because I think I'd get him. Like if I was in Crumbs' spot, I would wait. But I'm gonna quickly grab Iconic here, who's been popping off so far.
You are last pick.
Yeah, but if I was pick number like 49 instead of like 55 or whatever, right? Like if I was
So-
5.1 instead of 5.10.
Yeah.
If
could've waited.
if Finn is still not here, then you don't like automatically get whatever sub CLG puts in, right? For top lane.
I don't
You
think
don't.
so. I'm not
you
sure.
don't want to draft
No, I
solo,
wouldn't
but
think
you're
so.
hoping you get solo. Is that what you're saying?
Top lane is getting kind of painful now.
That's
The
why I
Huni
grabbed
pickup,
Alfari.
the Huni pickup in round 4 though is pretty
Yeah,
value
Huni's
as well
pretty good
though,
that
Kobe.
late.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, you just expect them to be a middling team, right? And so I feel like a player on
But-
middling to higher end.
You lose points for
team.
deaths, James.
Yeah,
true.
that's why I'm worried.
That's true. What about ISO deaths? Are those even more or no?
I don't know.
Because
It's
No,
just
they're not.
losing
I'm gonna
pride.
say-
you'd be playing in the negatives then. Who the Dardoch pick up as well.
Surprised he went pretty late. He looked pretty good at lock-in.
That was gonna be my
Yeah.
pick. I think Dardoch actually played really well individually,
Ugh.
but his team sucks, so he's gonna get no points for objectives and stuff.
He'll have a CS lead on his Nidalee. He'll give me some points there. He'll kill a couple people, then they'll lose the game.
All right, LS picks up Palafox next, jumping on my FlyQuest train, and Emily,
Ugh. Okay.
Fake God.
I mean, if Digger gonna play around someone's probably gonna be a fake god, right? Like Dardoch going top. I don't know. There weren't many top lane choices left.
That's what I'm saying.
Now we're getting into the struggle.
Yeah, what you
I'm
doing
just
here,
gonna
Zale?
This is when the
That-
draft
I only got
slows
two
down
leagues
as people are
picked
like, what do I not want?
Yeah.
Your
The
pick
beginning,
turn.
the beginning is
rude.
just a rush for Team Liquid and Cloud9 members, and then
Yeah.
after they're all gone,
All right.
The
I'm
real
gonna
fight begins.
bet on Xerxes. It's between him or Broxa for me. Let's just hope that Xerxes does well.
Ah, damn that! I was really hoping you wouldn't have picked him because we're the only two who didn't have junglers yet,
Yeah.
and that's what I was gonna go for. Was the
pick
Xerxes
whichever one
pickup.
gets here first and actually gets to play.
This is risky, but I'm gonna count on the OS bot lane.
Oh, so you can just like chill and last
Uh,
pick jungle because jungle's already been taken, right?
Yeah, all the junglers are taken. So my hope was that he was gonna take a support, so I could last pick Xerxes on the swing back
Right,
before
on the
he gets to
switchback.
go and still get my support here. But he took Xerxes. I mean,
Well,
so I'll
that's
still
what I
wait.
did with mid.
but-
Because everyone except Freak has mid, and Freak picks after me, so I got my mid pick anyway. So there was
Exactly.
no point in me
Yeah,
doing
it's
that.
smart drafting right
Yep.
there. Smart drafting. But I
Look at
was
these
really hoping
guys.
for that Xerxes. I thought that was gonna be a value pick.
All right, I can't believe Pole Belter took that
Oh,
long
yeah.
to get picked up, to be honest. And I honestly just feel bad for Crumbs because I'm just gonna. I feel like he wants.
Don't
his
do
top
it, man.
laner.
Don't do it. You bet. Oh,
Yeah.
wait.
Wait, are you going
Really?
Niles?
No, dude. We don't even know if Finn and Solo are gonna have full game time. It's gotta be Niles.
Wait, nah, there's no way.
Finn
The-
got approved. It's just Broxa, right? Who didn't get approved? I
If
think.
he gets
Here's-
replaced
here's the
by Solo
problem.
like week 1, you're boned.
Yeah, dude.
So
Niles
Crumbs, if you could pick a blank square, I think you get more points than Niles. I want that to be known that he's going to go negative points.
Wow.
Wha-
Pick Solo because he won't play any games,
Get
and
outta
it'll be
here,
better
dude.
for you.
No way. Come on.
Absolutely the case.
Nah, I can't do Niles like that. I gotta pick no way.
All right, I'll round it out, bud.
I need support now.
Who's left?
But
first?
Kobe's
Well,
team is
oh,
looking.
this is
sad.
great. I got Afro. I just
yeah,
got
Afro. He'll probably have good.
Sweet.
I was hoping that would somehow
And
fall to me.
here's all the dig drafts.
Pretty
We're
dude.
grabbing the toss, everyone. It's time.
Wait, so Immortals has two ADCs, Reyes and Keith?
Well, Keith isn't gonna play.
Yeah, Reyes
He's
is the
Derek
starter.
everyone.
Yeah.
But
We're
I
going
think
Reyes. I don't know who he is.
he's
We're
supposed to be
taking him.
good. I actually think that's a
Yeah.
huge steal if he's
Yeah.
actually not going to have import problems. Visa
Yeah.
problems.
That's what I was gonna pick for mine, but
Oh, we really are in the last
Uh-huh.
the last
We're in the last leg, yeah.
Trying to
well,
avoid
well,
saying dregs.
the it's I want to give
Alright.
love to everybody.
Some more take the toss picks. Yep.
My boy Brox is gonna bring it home.
On week 6 when he
He's
shows
not
up.
even home, dude. How
My
can
boy
you-
Brox.
All these people picking players that are actually not even allowed to play
And
yet.
Stickset got grabbed so late.
yeah,
Because
I
I
Everyone else
should have
grabbed
grabbed the
an
mid
AD.
laner
I mean,
and like
I'm a
maybe
s-
waited on Lost and just been okay with Stickset. I thought he was gonna
Yeah.
go sooner.
Maybe I should have
Oh,
confirmed this. I'm assuming there's like free agency between the weeks where we can make substitutions, right?
It'll be based on the league. Like there are some where it's like you can't freely draft from the free agent pool, and some where you can. So it'll depend on the league.
I'm pretty
rules.
surprised Neo went instead of Stixay.
I'm really surprised so many people were picking supports before last round. Supports make like half as many points as the
No, they
other
don't. They
roles.
get two.
No,
they
no,
get
no.
2 points for
You
every
get 2 points
assist.
for
Yeah,
assist.
yeah.
Versus
They're gonna
3
do
for a
really
kill.
well.
It's actually
Look,
not
if
bad.
you look
Yeah.
at last year's stats though, the ratings, most supports are towards further down.
Oh my
towards the
god.
bottom.
Okay.
Did you time out?
No. I just couldn't. It's rough.
Yeah, I'm with
It's
you,
rough
dude. I'm
down
picking
there,
support
yeah.
too. It's basically between Smoothie and Diamond.
Just pick
Mhm.
Joey.
Wow, that's rude.
Just pick Joey.
Okay.
No,
Mark.
because Destiny should be playing.
Yeah, I know, but
Joey's
just pick
like-
Joey.
What?
That's the Chad play.
Bruh.
Mark, let me complete my
Bruh.
FlyQuest combination here.
I'm liking my team.
Take Smoothie so
gotta
I can
say.
get 3 FlyQuest
I feel like
members.
CLG is not going to be that bad, right?
Yeah,
just
you-
like
Who knows?
Am
How
I
many
insane?
years has that been said for?
I know.
That's their slogan at this point.
Diamond
of
looked,
them.
Diamond looked like the worst support at play-ins. So like,
click it, Mark.
you'll get Diamond. You can have Diamond.
Woohoo!
All right, I
FlyQuest
will-
forever.
I have exactly
Alright,
one
great.
option.
Let's see it.
I'm sorry, Soligo, you are the last pick of the draft.
Oh Oh no.
Aw.
It's just what it is.
All right,
see.
let's see. I think they were pretty balanced. It looks like the people who picked in the middle of the draft got like 2 chances at a top 2 team player. I think that actually means a lot.
I mean, people on the right side as well, right? Like all the late picks got the earliest go at the
So
second
basically,
round,
just
right?
not me and Freak, because
I
there
don't
was
know.
no
I don't
there was
know.
no snake back.
I feel
There
like
was.
Kobe-
Your picks just sucked. You went for Jose Dioto over Sword Art and Licorice and lots of really good people.
I don't think that sucks because they're all the top 2 team players are gone, and you're supposed to save this one for last
Right.
on the.
We were picking 19,
snapback.
20, and
Yeah.
then 29 and 30, right? Like
You're sitting
get
on
to
your
wait a
high
while.
horse because you got 2 Team Liquid members able to
Yeah.
be picked right in the middle. That's
I didn't get 2 TL members.
Impact's not TL.
Yasuo did,
Impact's
though.
not on TL
Yasuo
anymore,
said 2 and
Kobe.
4.
Welcome
Like,
to the
he's
LCS.
These EG jerseys look exactly the same as well.
He got traded, bro. Alfari.
I thought Freak had the best draft after his first 2 picks, Alfari into Huhi, and I thought he was going to take like Poe Belter and then Lost. I don't know what the iconic pickup was, to be honest with you, Freak. I think you trolled.
I was
Fell
worried about
apart.
jungle getting pinched, and it was like because there's like
Yeah.
3 really great junglers, and I was like, okay, who else can I get? And I don't want to like wait too long because I think junglers are really screwed if they don't have a good team. Maybe that's troll, but I was just trying to find a jungler who'd get points. I think iconic is doing well.
So you try to find a one. You said if their team is bad, they get screwed. So you pick the 10th place team for your jungle.
That's not true. Both
Logic.
Guardians got 2 wins in group stage. They're the 6th place team.
Okay. The 6th place. Okay. All right, sweet. Well, I think that does it for the draft. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, for participating. I look forward to destroying you in the coming weeks. A reminder that the LCS split kicks off this week, so make sure you download the Sleeper Fantasy app this week and create your own league so you can tweet about how much better you are than Mark. Thanks to all our friends for joining us here today. We're going to take a short break, but we will be back soon with some LCS news.
Welcome back to the regular part of the dive. Let's jump right into reactions to our lock-in tournament, crowning our new champions, Team Liquid. Congratulations, first ever lock-in champions. Woo!
One clap.
One clap. Okay.
That's all they get from me. It was a 3-2. I'm disappointed. I thought TL was going to stomp them. That's how it looked for the first 2 games. And then we almost got reverse swept, and then they win in game 5. I thought that was a lot closer of a series than myself or it seemed like anyone was predicting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was fairly close. I take that as a positive, though. I actually
I'm not
want it to
actually being
be-
negative about it. I was just joking about disappointed
Yeah.
dad and Team Liquid.
Oh, okay. I didn't want it to be
You never
a
tell him, Mark.
situation where
Mark's always got the.
he's just
negative
always
Nancy
disappointed.
Is
so
it
it's hard
good
to know
jokes
when
or
it's
bad jokes if
sarcastic
no one knows?
disappointed or serious disappointed. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that there's some competition, right? You know, C9 almost lost to TSM. They had to reverse sweep 100 Thieves. They almost beat TL. Yes, that's sort of like napkin math or whatever. There's not really the transitive properties there, but it at least makes it feel like, hey, there's a handful of teams here that can be competitive at the top. And that is exciting for me. As far as like the TL point of view, I don't think that they were perfect, right? They obviously were challenged pretty heavily by Cloud9. Even though game 1 and 2 were stomps, like they ended quickly after the Barons, they were still competitive prior to that, and there were opportunities for C9. I think it was especially, I can't remember if it was game 1 or game 2, but there was that really bad mid lane dive for TL where C9 kind of got back in it. You know, and that game became somewhat competitive after that. So I thought it was a pretty exciting series. I would say as far as like my preseason expectations, it went pretty much to chalk. We talked about like when we did our power rankings, I put TL number 1 over C9 because I had questions about Fudge and, you know, things didn't really work out for him. He did have the one good game, which I'm happy about. And he is the youngest LCS player. So, you know, I'm not going to belabor the point, but clearly there was a huge difference between him and Alfari. And I think that was the biggest difference in the series.
Our power rankings for end of spring, by the way, not for preseason.
Azael's taking the early victory lap. He's got his hands up.
I know, but I'm just saying that I had a big question about how Fudge was going to do, and I still like just because he's young doesn't guarantee that he's going to be amazing by the end of the split, right? Like I still am going to have those questions. And Alfari looked incredible, like Alfari looked above expectation for me, and Fudge looked below expectation.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I think everyone was like, okay, Fudge is gonna need a little bit of time to ramp up, but the back-to-back series versus Someday versus Alfari kind of shows like, okay, he is a
Needs a
step
lot of
below.
time.
Yeah, he's a good step below the top tier cream of the crop LCS top laners.
I think he's down near the bottom. Like absolutely, he's I think on a similar level to the worst top laners in LCS, and that's not supposed to be a shot at him. He's a professional level player. He's the youngest player in the league. He can develop and get better. But right now, I would put him on the same level as the like based on his lock-in performance as the worst top laners in the league. And he played against in the top 4. There was 3 of the very best. There was Impact, Someday, and Alfari, right? And he was a far cry, I think, from any of those players.
Yeah, I think that's everybody was a bit worried coming in, but to see it play out how it happened is definitely kind of worrying for Cloud9. That being said, they still made it to the finals and pushed the finals to full 5 games. So
that's what I was gonna say is the big takeaway is like everyone's like, man, C9 looks so bad. They barely like did this, they barely did that, and it's like they made it to the finals and we're 1 game away from beating TL while we're talking about like this problem in the top lane. Oh, Perks doesn't look that great right now and this kind of stuff. So like in that sense, it almost leaves you more optimistic where it's like, okay, if they can look this quote unquote bad and almost win already, that sounds really good actually on paper.
Did you actually think they looked bad though? I actually thought they like Perks looked way better in the later series, in the reverse sweep against 100 Thieves, like in the later games in that series, and then in this series. This was, I thought, a good level of Perks. He wasn't just absolutely killing everyone in lane a million times, but that's not really what he was known for in EU either. So to me, this was Cloud9 looking pretty damn good. I thought their bot lane played really well. Yes, of course, there was some mistakes. There's room for improvement, but the same is true with TL. Like I thought overall, C9 looked quite good.
I mean, I think when you look at the whole lock-in tournament, I think people would say that Perks didn't look as great. I wasn't just talking about this series. I think some of his Yone games, even as recently as the 100 Thieves series, was having some issues. So I don't think he's bad. I'm not saying that. And I think he actually, like you said, had a good series. But he started to play more towards global champions, picking up the TF in particular, which is in some sense like almost a crutch synergy pick, where it's like you will be around the map, and you will be playing with your team on this champion because it's the only way to play this champion, really. And I think when I remember Perks at his best and roaming all over the map and stuff like that, he was doing it on other things too.
Silas and Akali and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of melee assassins and things like that. So like I think there's still a lot of room to grow. I don't think I saw like Game 5 versus RNG Perks at all this tournament, and I know that exists, and I know that that's coming at some point this year. So like that's why I think there's a huge growth potential for C9 still.
That's what I liked about this tournament, though. There should be huge growth potential for all of these teams, as almost all of them were just configured, just put together, have not had very much practice time, and now you're pushed into this competitive environment. I like that it's kind of like a pressure cooker to force a lot of these teams to start forming their synergies, finding their identities really early on in the season. We're playing all these competitive games, putting more pressure on them to figure out what works, what doesn't work pretty early on. And continuing with that topic, there were a long list of teams that we had projections for as far as which teams coming into the lock-in tournament would need more time to look better. Yes, Cloud9 was one of them because of Fudge being rookie and bringing in new parts. TSM was also on that list, and them going down to 100 Thieves, I think, was exactly what we were talking about when we're making our rankings. And both me and Mark, I think, I'm not sure about Azael, put 100 Thieves above Team Liquid because of the inbuilt synergy coming in. Thought they were going
I'd TL number 1.
Or not TL, TSM, coming in with their inbuilt synergy, and someday being able to work with that as well. I'm just so excited after this tournament for all of our top teams because they did look really competitive. So we get to see, throughout this shortened spring split, who actually, with the 6-week timeline, is going to be ready by the time that World's implications are on the line as well, and you're playing for the spring championship.
And I mean, honestly, even I'm still really excited for a lot of the bottom teams because they didn't even get to have their rosters. Like teams like Immortals and CLG, we didn't even get to see them, right? Like we didn't get to see Finn and Brox's, Xerxes, and Destiny and Raze and these guys on various teams. So I think it's really been a positive experience for a lot of teams. I also was kind of realizing after we finished the finals last night, I was like, how many games did Cloud9 play? So I looked
17.
it up. 17 games. They basically played an entire split already of stage games, which I do think is so valuable, especially for someone like Fudge, right? Like that would be halfway through the year, we'd be going in spring split playoffs normally for him to have had this many games played. And for these young players to get this big injection of stage experience, I think that alone made it really worthwhile taking this tournament very seriously, trying to advance deep, because the extra stage games alone were a pretty big reward. So I did like that aspect of it. TL played a few less games because they, won their series more handily. They obviously 2-0'd and then 3-0'd, and then had that 5-game series at the end. But still incredibly valuable, I think, for all these teams to be able to actually kind of experiment, figure out what they want to play, what they don't want to play. And I'm hoping as a result, teams are going to have more confidence in trying different picks and kind of bringing that forward into the season, because it did seem like we saw a lot of adaptation, a lot of experimentation in lock-in that we don't always see in the first weeks of spring. So I really, really enjoyed that and just think that the event was a huge success.
I will say, as great as that is for C9, it wasn't like for a lot of these teams, incredible amount more of games. Teams like CLG and Dig played 4 games in 3 weeks. It's actually less than you normally would. EG played TSM played about the same. They played 7 games in 3 weeks, which 6. And then the thing you have to realize is this is also a shortened season from this point on. It's done in 6 weeks. So you still are going to play the 8-team stage games, but in terms of practice time, assuming you're one of these teams that didn't have their starters, you are now coming in at the middle of the season effectively. Compared to how it would have been previously. This is like what happened to TL last split, where they didn't have Broxa for a good deal of time. It does still feel that way to me for teams like Immortals and CLG and some of these teams that didn't have their actual starters. I'm worried that they're going to be so far behind the ball now because C9, to your point, had a million games and had their starters the whole time, and same with TL. Even though Santorin was a week late, like, hey, it's great. You got like seven more games with him now than these other teams have even had. So I am a little concerned about the teams that were further down. Starting effectively.
I was good. That's why when he was like, I'm excited for these, other bottom teams, I was actually really worried for them because it was, just a bigger rich get richer, a lot more games for the better teams. Like we were talking about on Bud Light League Lounge. You get this picture in tournaments that is highly weighted towards the top end of the league. Because the bottom teams are getting knocked out earlier on. And oftentimes those are the teams that are facing other hurdles already. So you have these difficulties of visa issues and putting the rosters together late and getting your coaching staff late. And then on top of that, you add this big boost to the teams that were at the top and are also, scrimming each other later into the tournament as well. So it definitely does create a lopsided start for spring split. So I feel like
I actually really disagree. I still think it's better for those teams, because how would it be better if you're in the regular format and you're Immortals or CLG and you don't have your members and now you're just 0-6 in the start of regular season, right? At the very least, they are given this extra time to try to get their stuff together, because they haven't had to play official spring split games, right? They haven't had that counting towards their MSI and their playoff run and their Worlds run even, because the season is going throughout the entire year. So I still think for those teams, it's a better situation than having to play with your academy team on stage for the games that actually really count, which is spring split.
I mean, on that front, sure. But at the same time, you have to look at, like, now when you play C9, you're playing Perks, who is seemingly, as we've said, leveled up throughout the tournament. Like, you could have snagged some wins off him and some of these other teams earlier on. And it's, to Kobe's point, it's like, yes, this is better for these teams to have now given more time to get their starters together. But that's also true for all the other teams. So, like, it's not like, it is a zero-sum game, I should say. just because you got more time, the other people also got more time as well. So I don't think, it actually really does favor the bottom teams, even though it is like, oh, now you can wait for your starters to show up. It's like, great. The other people had their starters now, competed in a full tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a disadvantage to not have your players, like no matter what. No one's going to argue that, right? But I still think not having it count against your official record at the very least does help. But I'm excited to see how it is going to show up.
They can't lose 10 times now because there are only 6 weeks, so you can't be losing for 9 weeks straight because there aren't 9 weeks of games in there.
Always the positive, Kobe. It's just. You can get the same record, but it only takes 6 weeks to get there now.
Yeah, it's the same amount of total games. Obviously, it's just 3 days a week now instead. How'd you guys feel about some of the tournament meta? Like, do you think that the meta and the team strength is a good prediction of how the season is actually going to go, or do you think there will be a lot of variance as far as these picks and as far as team strength going up and down?
I think. At least in terms of the team strength, I do think it was a pretty good indicator. I mean, if you look at most of how things ended compared to our power rankings, it was pretty close. Like EG is probably a little bit better than we gave credit for, and maybe some of the teams struggled a little bit more. But overall, I could see the regular season ending with pretty similar standings.
Yeah, I think the ones that we were pointing out of bigger possible improvements the longer they get to play together, obviously. There might be some movement, but I thought it was a pretty good indicator. Yeah, nice little litmus test, at least at the very beginning.
Sweet. All right. Well, on to the Honda MVP section. Who was your lock-in tournament MVP? And do you also think that same player is going to be, your end of season MVP?
For me, I mean, Core JJ is always a super easy answer. I do like that we got a lot of other possible answers here, though. I don't think before this tournament, you would have been as confident as like, oh, maybe Core JJ is like splitting a lot of votes with Alfari. Whereas after this tournament, I'm like, oh, you know what? They actually might be taking votes from each other, splitting up some of the Team Liquid fan base there. And then, of course, you have your favorites for Cloud9. I think that Blabber and Sven actually have very heavy weight, even though Perks is the big signing. I think as the season goes on, Perks will start to gain more and more faith. But like the opening with the Yasuo game, first impression is going to stick with a lot of people for quite a while.
We
might have to get kind of deep into spring for it to kind of wash away.
I'd throw Someday on the list as well. I think he has risen. He's probably a dark horse candidate already, but he looked really good through lock-in. His tournament was fantastic. It was against Fudge, whatever. But like if they won that series, he was hands down getting the series MVP there. And so if 100 Thieves have a good regular season, let's say they finish second or maybe even first, I can see a world where he is really in the running for MVP if he keeps up this kind of play.
Yeah, it is really interesting, right? Because when you're talking about Alfari and Core JJ could maybe split votes. Well, Jensen looked like the best mid laner in the league as well, right? Like if he's getting some votes too, maybe you have just too many good players on TL for them to end up with an MVP, for them to be enough of a concentration of votes. I mean, that's not always how it works out, but it has happened that way in the past when TSM in the past when it's like Doublelift and Bjergsen are both stealing votes from each other. And I think there was the one year with like Haunter, people thought, maybe should have been up there for some stuff. So could be pretty interesting. I will say Core JJ is definitely a good answer for the lock-in MVP, but I feel like Alfari was probably the single most dominant player in the entire lock-in tournament. Core JJ just adds so much, and his engages and everything were so incredible, of course. But if you look at just like the isolation of the difference between an individual player and his opponent, it felt like Alfari was the biggest difference throughout the entire event, right? Like he was winning basically every single lane. It pretty much didn't really feel like if he got help or didn't get help, ganked or didn't get ganked, he kind of just won every time, which I thought was really, really impressive. The only game he really got significantly behind was that one Aurelia game against Fudge where they 4-banned him, they picked Aurelia, and then he got ganked a lot, and his jungler wasn't really there to help him. But besides that, I mean, he had just a monster tournament, and I think that as a result, NA fans are super hyped for Alfari, and he kind of went from everyone's had heard of him maybe a little bit, but kind of knew he's kind of good, but not that big of a brand, to everyone in NA knows about Alfari now.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only one that game versus the Aurelia, there's a double stacked minion wave coming towards him. He's mini Gnar exhausted. Santorin is actually in the blue quadrant, like on his side, and goes from wolves over to raptors to continue the jungle route instead of covering there. And so I don't really put that so much on Alfari because he had to.
I agree. It's always the jungler's fault.
They blind pick the Gnar.
Good point, Kobe.
I'm the jungler. I'm like, tell me what you need, dude. You didn't tell me to come up there, maybe. I don't know.
Actually, Azale, I think the angle is it's a really good jungle play on Blabber's part to come dive on the way.
So again,
really
still top is jungle difference. We're still in agreement here, no matter how we put it.
Yeah, honestly though, Alfari showed a lot of intelligence in a lot of the different situations that he was put in.
I think it was heading into the EG series. We were looking at like jungle proximity difference. I think he was the lowest in the league actually. Like he gets the least help of top laners. And that might have changed through the EG and C9 series. But I think that might be a reason that people give more credit to Core JJ in a sense, because Alfari, while he is absolutely dominating his lane every single game almost, it often feels like a little disconnected to like Core JJ and Santorin on their like Leona and Talia just like murking everybody across the map. So like it'll be really interesting to see how there's I just think it's going to be one of those ones where it's hard to pick a person, because even Jensen, I feel so bad for this dude. He's never going to get an MVP. He couldn't get one during the Bjergsen years. He couldn't get them then when he really should have got at least one. And now he's on with Core JJ. Like, he's not going to get one over him probably. And even then, now we're talking about Alfari as potentially the second person in the running on his team. Yeah, I feel bad. I think he's going to have to like go join some rando team and hard carry him.
Yeah, it's tough though, because then if you're on a bad team, even if you're a standout, it's still tough to win MVP if you don't get the results, right? If your team is not winning and getting far. But I mean, that is one of the things that happens when you're on basically an all-star roster, right? Sometimes you see that in professional sports where people want to be the sole focus, and people will get traded or want to leave a team because they want the ball more, right? Like they want to be the star. And when you're going to be on a team that is just absolutely stacked like Team Liquid is, there's going to be a sharing of resources, right? You don't get to stand out as much because not everything is going to be about Jensen, even if he's the best mid laner in the league, because there's also Alfari up there, and you have one of the best junglers, and you have one of the best, if not the best bot lane, right? Like, it's just such an embarrassment of riches. There's just so much going on there
suffering
that it's hard
from success.
Yeah, it's the DJ Khaled suffering from success. There's not enough credit to go around sometimes for all the TL players, but it'll be interesting. I mean, I also
drop the ego.
Like, yeah, well, exactly. At the end of the day, he's getting titles on TL, right? He had never won before he joined TL. Now he's on TL, he's winning. So I think he's probably happy whether or not he gets the MVP or anything like that. But it did
Crying
feel in
with
general,
the money, wiping his tears away as well.
Exactly. Yeah, he's doing well. I mean, I think mid lane didn't feel as impactful as some of the other roles in this event as well, right? It felt like in general, the mid lane matchups were closer than some of the other matchups. It felt like jungle and support had such an insane impact on the game. And it also felt like sometimes we were seeing a bigger difference in top lane as well.
Yeah, mid lane meta. I mean, there is Yone and Zoe, I guess, as like the two kind of like, I'm going to make plays on my own champions. But otherwise, you're looking at a lot of control mages, a lot of TF, a lot of Galio, this kind of stuff.
I mean, it was pretty interesting too. Jensen was talking about how he felt that the LCS lost more with Bjergsen leaving than we gained in mid lane with Perks joining.
Mm-hmm.
And the analyst desk also did their ranking of most stacked roles in the LCS, and mid lane was the only one not chosen that didn't have anyone speaking for it. So it definitely does feel like the landscape kind of shifting there. What are your thoughts on that, as far as the fairly controversial Jensen opinions, where it's like, all right, he's finally not trash talking Bjergsen here. He's actually
he's using it to trash talk
talking
Perks.
him up a bit in order to club the new guy. You're like, you know what? Actually, it's Perks that he keeps saying he hasn't learned as much from.
I feel like there's one thing that people sometimes are looking over in the argument, at least from what I've seen response to be on social, is that Jensen, it feels like, is talking about in LCS and how Bjergsen performed in LCS. And how Bjergsen performed in LCS is different than how he performed internationally, right? Bjergsen was incredibly dominant regionally, and for whatever reason, that never really translated to international. We had other players who did a lot worse in regular season play and whatnot that actually did more than him internationally, right? Who he as a mid laner accomplished more internationally than Bjergsen did. He got the MSI finals, but he was never even close to what Bjergsen was actually accomplishing in NA. So I think that's one part that I feel like people are somewhat missing a little bit with the conversation, or at least how I'm interpreting what Jensen is saying, is that Bjergsen was absolutely amazing in NA for so many years, really, really dominant. Whether TSM was good, whether TSM was bad, no matter what jungler was around him, this guy was a monster in NA. And I think that, to me, was kind of what he was more talking about. But I mean, he's mentioned now in like 3 or 4 different interviews with different people how C9 lost out on the trade. C9 is worse than before. Perks isn't bringing as much as they lost from Bjergsen. Clearly, he just doesn't have as high of an opinion of Perks as an individual as a lot of people do. And that could come from the fact that maybe Jensen just thinks, no, Perks wasn't that good. He did well because he was on a really good team. And if that's his opinion, maybe that'll be revealed somewhat throughout this year if Perks has a bad year. But I mean, I think it's hard to overlook all the accomplishments that Perks has. He won in EU so many times. He did incredible internationally. As far as like total career accomplishments, he's obviously way more accomplished than Bjergsen.
I'll give him two more pieces, or two thoughts here. One, to go along his train of thought. I think one thing that Bjergsen did really well was he never trolled scrims or like never seemed to take it easy. I felt like the way when we scrimmed against him, like the way Bjergsen played scrims was how he was probably going to play on stage. He might be a little bit more risky. He might be trying out new picks and stuff, but like he's such a cerebral player that like, it feels like you're playing against Bjergsen every time. There are other mid laners, like, for example, this is still when I was coaching, Zhao, right? The LMQ mid laner. Mm-hmm. Such a troll in scrims. He was terrible in scrims. You would slam him in scrims, and then you would go on stage and he'd be like bush camping with LeBlanc and like taking over the game, and like I think there are some players that feel that way. So maybe that's part of it. Like, whenever you play against Bjergsen, you feel like, oh god, this guy's a brick wall. I can't get any advantages. He's playing the lane perfectly. Maybe Perks is a little bit looser and goosier in scrims.
A little goosier.
So he's not learning as much. You're not learning as much from the Yasuo taking another 1v1 or the Yone taking another 1v1 when he's 0-2. You're like, this guy's trolling me. Yeah. That's all hypothetical speculation. Could be talking out of my butt. The other thing I'll say, which is what I saw some Redditors commenting on about the whole mid lane getting better or worse this year, was talking more about like the entire pool. I know Jensen's conversation is very targeted towards Perks, but on a broader topic, like, okay, yeah, Perks for Bjergsen, maybe a close comparison, but then you're looking at like Palafox, Ablaze Olive, and some of these other people coming in for like Niski, who has gone now. And I think it's fair to say that the overall quality of mid laner has dropped, even though some of them are younger. They're development, no shade at those guys, but like Niski was a borderline MVP candidate in North America that is not here now.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about the like analyst discussion, like you were referencing, Kobe, where they were talking about what's the most stacked role, I definitely don't think it's mid lane, because even when I was preparing for our fantasy draft, I was looking. I felt like there was 3 like absolute top mid laners, and if you want to include Demonte, 4, right? There's Jensen, Poe, Perks, and then if you want to put Demonte up there too, you can say 4. But I think most people would have him.
Get Jizuke in there.
That's why I went for a mid laner, really early pick.
Yeah, I mean, Jizuke at his peak can be in there, but the problem is he hasn't been able to put together an entire split where he's done it, right? So that's why I think that mid lane just doesn't feel as stacked compared to some of these other roles where you're looking at like support, where there's like 5, maybe 6 people who really feel like top level. Support is really interesting because you have people from all kinds of different leagues now too, right? We have like Sword Art coming from the LPL. We have, Core JJ at Ignar from LCK. We have Vulcan and Huhi that are NA that are incredible and from this region. Newbie as well, coming over from another region. We have like OCE supports coming over. So we have like such a different variety of players, and at least 5 of them that feel like they are playing at a world-class level right now, which is, I think, really, really interesting.
All right. Well, that should do it for our MVP discussion then. Time to move on to some anchor questions. Josh F. has a question about the qualities a champion needs to be a mainstay in the pro meta.
Hi. Season over season, certain champions such as Gragas, Syndra, and Thresh are consistently strong picks in pro play, but other champions like Vi, Katarina, and Brand are rarely picked by pros even when they have high solo queue win rates. These are just a few examples, but in general, what qualities do you think a champion needs to be a mainstay in the pro meta? Thanks.
I actually like that this question is coming up now that Udyr is finally taken over as this giant power pick, when for so many seasons, Udyr has been at 55, 56, 57 sometimes percent win rates and never made it into pro play like he has made it into pro play right now. And the pro players would even always just like laugh at me whenever I pick this champion, you know, playing flex or rank 5s or whatever with them. And it was kind of a joke because like it doesn't have a lot of outplay surprise potential. There are very, very key things that made it change now. And the biggest one is the removal of having to go jungle item and being able to rush more speed in the form of Turbo Chem Tank. And then Turbo Chem Tank price being reduced so you can even rush to that Righteous Glory active that much quicker. To have this big power button that you can actually go for to force and engage, get enough speed to actually get there, then you can finally combine that on top of the very strong power clearing that he has always had throughout every single year, despite not making it into pro play. And I've always looked at it as there are usually some very high win rate solo queue champions across many roles that are just very simple kits that don't translate into pro play because you don't have, you know, the extra mobility or the extra surprise play to go on top of just, you know, good stats or easy combinations to pull off.
I think beyond simplicity, reliability is a huge part of it, as well as utility. I think when you look at champs like Katarina and stuff and Yi and those kinds of situations, like they just bring damage. They're just damage. If you fall behind, you're useless. And there's a number of champs that are kind of like that as well. But ones that rely on resets that can get interrupted by CC, you know, it just drops faster and faster because in pro play, people are coordinated. They hold their abilities. Wait for Cat to go in with your Leona Q, you know, and then as soon as she pops in, poof, eat it. You know, like those kinds of things happen way more in pro play. And then in terms of reliability as well, even something like Brand, who has some CC, you have to land an ability first to then get your stun, which is really annoying compared to like Syndra, which is just like, I just need to hit my E. Yeah, I got to put a ball down, but like that's part of the combo. Whereas for Brand, you actually have to land your W or get close enough to cast E, which you're probably dead if you do that. And so even those champs like, you know, Thresh has a skill shot, but he also has Flay, which is really consistent. Box is insane zone control. His Lantern will always get value. So like when you get to these champs with high win rate and solo queue, they're often like, well, they do a lot of damage and people aren't coordinated to stop it. So you're good.
Yeah. For me, it comes down a lot to like counterplay, right? And it's kind of touching on some of the things that you've said. You know, when Kobe talks about like simple kits, I think of like Garrett. Sometimes Garrett is really good in solo queue, but it's really easy to play around if you fully understand the damage he can do and how to kite him out and how to position in team fights and things like that. So, you know, the pros are going to do that at a better level. You know, wave clear, right? Like Katarina just doesn't have good wave clear. So in a pro meta, people are going to have you under your tower the entire game, right? And that's why you see so many Ludens being built as pretty much the only mid lane item. So many mages always being played throughout the years because controlling waves is so much more important at the pro level than it is in solo queue. It allows you to play for vision. That allows you to go for these kind of next steps. So I do think that a lot of it is just consistency. How easy is it to play around the abilities that your opponents are looking to do? You know, kind of just how much counterplay you have. So thank you very much for that question. We got another one here. This one comes from Matthew T, who goes by JT, I guess, as well, from Anchor.
Greetings, gentlemen. This is JT, longtime listener, first-time caller. I found the matches of this lock-in tournament very entertaining, with teams consistently looking to create opportunities for advantages, rather than playing not to lose. Do you think NA would fare better internationally if all teams maintained this hungry playstyle throughout the season? C9 fell short domestically at the end of summer playing aggressively, but TSM fell completely on their faces at Worlds playing more defensive farm to scale. Thanks, guys. To Honda, I've happily and consecutively owned 3 different generations of Civics, great vehicles. Thanks. And as a final note, never give up, cat for Kobe.
Thank you. Appreciate the support. As always, never give up. Travis is probably listening. I think we woke him up with our early draft.
Good.
Section.
Perfect. Yeah, go. Someone want to take a first crack at this?
Sure. I mean, obviously, I think all of us prefer one just to watch more aggressive play styles. Like I loved watching game one of the finals where it felt like the players were actively kind of pushing back against some of the ideas where it's like Vulcan and Sven are worse than everyone was talking about how Core JJ and Tactical are the best bot lane, and then they actually got into a number of 2v2 skirmishes over the course of that series, and in particular game one. So like I like when people are trying to push and assert themselves versus like letting the game come to them a little bit. Will that be better at international? Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I don't think there's been many slow reactive teams that won Worlds, have looked really good.
I'd say for sure it's going to be better. And even Team Liquid themselves last year had to come to this realization multiple times throughout the year. And then even at Worlds as well, while in the tournament, while on the brink of getting eliminated. And so I really like how, and it feels like Core JJ is leading this change within that team and trying to really look for these proactive plays, start out with bottom lane aggression, use this to create your opportunities rather than having to sit back and, okay, we're just going to outcomp scale them later on, because that leaves so much wide open for your opponents to outplay you early on in the game and kind of take away that power from you. So I'm fully on board. I love it. I'm super glad that this change has been made at the top and that our finals were like this, because that does, trickle down to the teams at the bottom watching as well.
Down aggression.
Exactly, it's trickle down aggression.
Trickle down meta.
How they're going to be able to form how they want to improve.
I think the big challenge here is that even if logically I know I should be playing aggressive on stage, I think what happens is when the teams feel like the games really matter, this can be amplified during regular season, can be amplified even more during playoffs. And I think sometimes it's the reason we see it the most during Worlds is people like, my whole year's on the line. Okay, I can't mess up, right? And people get into this mindset that forces them to take less risky plays because they don't want to be the one who falls on their face. They don't want to be the one who goes for the flash hook and misses and then just dies and it feels like the game's over. And I think that is why it is important to consistently practice that aggressive play style. If that is what you're saying you need for Worlds, you have to do it all year long. Build that in so it's instinctual. So it goes beyond just like the logical understanding that is the way you need to play, because you need to train yourself in that way to accept that sometimes these plays are going to go wrong. When you look at G2, most successful Western team really ever internationally, they have lots of games where they look terrible, where they go for these risky plays and it just completely flies on its face, right? It's like the whole craps versus claps meme, right? But he doesn't stop just because one play went wrong, because he knows he's good enough that the vast majority will work out. And you have to really train that. And that's what I'm hoping we get more from the LCS teams this season.
All right,
we got a Twitter question here. Oh, go for it.
David Yoshimoto asks,
nailed it,
all of us, if you were coaching Cloud9, how would you adjust your strategy and drafts based on the lock-in tournament results? If you are playing against Cloud9, do you just snowball through top lane?
I personally don't think that they really have to adjust much of their strategy and drafting. I mean, I think a lot of it was just execution errors. I think that you could be willing to just say, oh, well, like if you're just playing for the absolute wins right now, then like put Fudge on tank duty and never go to that side of the map. But that's not what they want from him. And that's also speaking to the previous question about playing more aggressive and playing the way you want to play in 6 months or 8 months today so that you can get there. I think that they want to be a versatile team. They want to be able to play carries top, and that means you're going to have to go through the growing pains. You're going to have to be willing to draft carries for Fudge and watch him get solo killed and watch him lose lanes until all of a sudden he's not doing that anymore, or at least he's consistently going even, and then he's consistently winning, right? You need to play towards that development. Otherwise, it'll never happen. So I don't think that they need to really change too much as far as what their drafts are, because I felt like their losses were execution based, and that's something that they should be working on in VOD review, be working on in scrims and practice, and just trying to improve throughout the year.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. On the second part of the question, if you're playing against C9, do you just try and snowball through top? I mean, I think you have to have a top laner who can actually do this. And I know, okay, someday Impact, Alfari, sure. Past that,
Licorice.
maybe Huni. Who'd you say?
Licorice.
But I mean, they haven't been great around coordinating through topside currently for FlyQuest. Like they have their own coordination issues to figure out, right? Like the amount of teams who can actually just play through topside is at best half the league. And so I think it's totally true. Like, hey, if that's the weakest point, target it, attack it, And I think that's something that people sometimes get lost in, like why someone does bad. It's like the surface level analysis of like, oh, Fudge only did bad because they camped his lane and killed him a bunch of times and they kept roaming top. And it's like, right. And they did that because they can exploit him and they knew they could exploit him. And like people were hard targeting him with counter picks and these kinds of things and active ganks, I think you have to look beyond just like, because I saw some people and I understand people saying, hey, don't flame Vulcan, which Vulcan was saying, don't flame Fudge, which I get and I agree with. But at the same time, people took it a little too far and like, oh, he only did bad because he was getting camped. And it's like, he got camped because it was an effective strategy, because he was getting abused.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to learn, you're not going to get better if you don't try these things. And the Aurelia game is perfect proof that you should, because even that game, I love that they're hovering over Malphite right before it too. Like, hey, we're gonna hit you with another Malphite game. Didn't that work out great when Fudge is just point and click ultimate and stun for the entire team? But they make the call to go for the Aurelia counter pick and send Blabber over there like you're supposed to do, focusing on this matchup, go for the dive on the big wave. And that earns you a victory. Like, you need to have those options open. And so for this question specifically, where first part is about adjusting drafts, I think you're always adjusting your drafts to what your goal is. Right at the beginning of spring split, even though it is condensed into 6 weeks, you have less time, and less practice elsewhere, you still want to be trying these things, getting learnings from, oh, what happens actually if we put all in on Fudge? If you get towards the end of the split and you're about on, playoffs border, or you're about on, getting a bye or something like that, then, and you think that the highest percentage chance is to stick him on tank duty for that game or that series or whatever, go for it in the crunch time win. But I think especially at the beginning of spring, your drafts should still be in this exploratory mode because they are trying to craft their team to be the best when it counts more towards the end. And for the follow-up, if you're drafting against them, doesn't matter about what time of day it is, what time of the split it is. Hell yeah, you see a weakness, go for it. try and snowball on their weakness.
I think you should try and snowball against Perks. It's like, that sounds a lot harder. I'm gonna pass on that.
Yeah, and even at the end of the day, teams that were snowballing in top lane were losing them, right? Someday gave them the smackdown pretty much every single game. They still lost the series. Licorice actually picked Fiora against him and was winning against him in the 1v1, but it didn't matter because it was kind of difference in the rest of the map, right? They almost got perfect gamed. So it's not always as easy as just beating one person means the entire game ends, unless that person is really trolling hard and just like sprinting it down as fast as they can, giving up all their towers. One person losing isn't the end of the world. But thank you guys for the questions. Remember, you can keep sending them in anchor.fm. We appreciate the reviews that some of you have left for us on Apple Podcasts. If you want to continue to do that, we're going to read out some from next week. Maybe we'll find some funny ones or something like that we can read. I saw a few good ones on there. So if you want to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, definitely feel free to do that. We appreciate it. And keep on sending the questions in on Twitter as well. #TheDiveLOL. Tag us in it. And we appreciate it. And we will see you this coming week. Thank you so much for Honda for making this possible. You can get us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, and sub to the new YouTube channel, youtube.com/LCS. All the dive episodes are going to be uploaded there. This or that's going to be uploaded there. All kinds of LCS content. Don't want to miss out on. Big thank you to Sleeper, the geniuses behind the Fantasy LCS, and we wish you luck on your own fantasy league. Looking forward to comparing how some of you guys are doing against how some of us did. We'll see you on Friday for the start of the LCS.